We are back with another episode of Detroit Sports Talk, and today we are going to finally discuss the Detroit Red Wings. We have yet to discuss the Red Wings on the show, so let's go right in. Let's do a season review. We're going to take a look at their season as a whole and then jump into the specifics on the offense and the defense. So let's go.
There's the snap. Blitz comes. Mayfield back. Loads. Throws. Picked up by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Intercepted by the Lions. Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes. Reggie Miller. And it's blocked again.
Lead pass in for Larkin. In space for Raymond. And he scores! Lucas Raymond!
Welcome to Detroit Sports Talk. I am your host, Bobby Buckets, and I want to thank you for taking the time to talk some Detroit sports today. Be sure to like the show, subscribe to the channel, comment your thoughts on today's topics, and reach out to me on Twitter at Bobby Buckets. Last night, the Celtics won the Eastern Conference Finals with a 4-0 sweep against the Pacers. It is now championship or bust for the Celtics. Everybody said they had a cakewalk to the finals on the Eastern Conference side. They went 12-2 in the playoffs so far. They did not lose a game in this series. They won or lost one in the previous one, and their other loss came in the first round. So they are 12-2 in the playoffs so far. They are going to be the team to beat. If they do not win a championship, I think it's a disappointment in Boston, honestly, especially if you're going up against the Mavs. The Mavs versus the T-Wolves tonight, Game 4 in Dallas. If they can pull it out, that will be another sweep. And Game 1 of the finals will start on June 6th. So we have that to look forward to in the basketball world, looking like a Celtics-Mavericks finals. The Mavs just need one more win. And the Mavs are a 5 seed. So that's why I say championship or bust for Boston. You were the 1 seed in the East. You dominated the East the entire season. You dominated the playoffs through the East. It is championship or bust for Boston. I'm rooting for the Mavs because it's fun. Let's go ahead and start discussing the overall play of the Detroit Red Wings this season. All right, first topic, general overview. And I think this was, for me at least, I didn't jump into watching the Red Wings consistently until those, several last games where it was getting close with that playoff race, especially against Washington. And some of those games were just electric. So I did not watch a ton of Red Wings games. And honestly, I probably should have, considering majority of them are on Hulu. So I can watch them. I cannot watch Tigers games. Tigers are the only ones I can't watch. You can get Pistons on League Pass. You're going to be able to see the Lions games. And I got NFL Red Zone, so I would actually prefer watching that, even if I can't watch the Lions games. But you can watch full Red Wings games on Hulu as long as you have that, that ESPN plus Disney Hulu combination. So the Wings finished 41-32-9 for 91 points. They actually had more points than the league average at 90. So they were right there sitting at that playoff spot, but I forgot the tiebreaker. It was like regulation wins that they did not have enough of compared to Washington. So their record 41-32. The average was 41-33 for the league for 90 points. So they were just about an average team from a record standpoint and from a point standpoint. The average age for the Wings was 29.3. So 29 years old was their average age. League age was 28.6. So they're just an above average team from an age standpoint. And we will get into maybe later today or even tomorrow, depending on what we do for tomorrow's show. But I would think they're going to be a younger team next year. For their goals they had 275 goals scored this year. They gave up 273. So there was a +2 goal differential this year for the Red Wings, 275 compared to 273. And the average was 253 goals scored. So they were an above average team in goals scored. They were a below average team in goals against. So I did the averages just to see what the average score of a Red Wing game was, and it was 3.35 to 3.33. So the Red Wings scored a lot of goals, and they also let up a lot of goals. I remember this season wanting to take the over on Red Wings games because they scored a lot and they couldn't defend. So the over usually hit this season in regards to Red Wings games. But looking at opportunities from a power play perspective, they had 273 power play opportunities compared to 247 for the league average. So they were they got more opportunities than the average team from a power play perspective, and power play opportunities against was 240. So they had more power play opportunities than the average team, and they gave up less power play opportunities than the average team. So that was a fun stat to find. And then one thing that I thought was interesting as well, they averaged 29 shots per game, and they gave up 32.4 shots per game. So even though that they were scoring more goals, they were giving up more shots. So they averaged 29. League average was 30.3. Average 29, averaged giving up 32.4 compared to the league average of 30.3. So just generalizing the Red Wings output offensively and defensively, I think it's pretty easy to see. And I think what most Red Wings fan would describe kind of the consensus of the season was they were good at offense, bad on defense, and the stats that we just showed kind of back that up. So in 3 words or less, I want to hear how you guys would generalize the Red Wings season. 3 words or less, what would you use? Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter. For the second topic, let's go ahead and get into the specifics on the offensive side. So again, let's touch on the total goals scored. That was 275, and so they scored or averaged 3.35 goals per game. I wanted to see where that fell in regards to the rest of the NHL, and those stats rank number 9 in the league this season. So out of the 32 NHL teams, they ranked 9th. They were a top 10 scoring team this year. They also had 63 power play goals. That actually ranked 6th. So they were a great power play team. They were top 3 in power play opportunities. So they were great at drawing calls and getting the opposing team into the box for those 5-on-4 opportunities. And then they also capitalized. They were number 9 in power play percentage. So not only were they top 3 in power play opportunities, they were a top 10 team in power play percentage, being efficient and capitalizing on those opportunities to put the puck in the net. The issue, though, or I guess kind of to look elsewhere, they were 23 in shots on goal. So they were a below average team in regards to the number of shots that they could get onto the net. And they had an 11.6% shooting percentage, which would be a top 3 team in efficiency. So with that shooting percentage at 11.6%, you're a top 3 team in getting the puck in the net. The only issue was they were a below average team of getting shots on the net in general. So you were really good about putting the puck in the net. You just weren't great. You were a below average team in terms of total shots on goal. So it makes you wonder, how does that offense improve if you were to get better shots on goal or more shots on goal? Or was it because you guys you had such a great offense, you were looking for the best shot altogether as opposed to putting pucks on net, essentially? So top 3 team in scoring efficiency at 11.6% for their shooting percentage. The team had 2 30-goal scorers, Dylan Larkin had 33 goals, and Lucas Raymond had 31 goals. The interesting part about it with the Dylan and kind of his injury history and dealing with the injuries that he had last year, he outscored Lucas Raymond in 14 less games, which is a pretty cool stat. Dylan just constantly putting the puck in the net. Alex DeBrincat, he was third at 27 goals. Patrick Kane was fourth at 20. And what's interesting about Patty Kane is he only played 50 games, and he came in and was fourth in goals. So I think bringing in Patty, we saw how good he was. I mean, he's not going to be great defensively, but to be fourth in goals despite missing 32 games, that's pretty damn good. Of those four, they were your top 100 goal scorers. So Larkin ranked 29th in the league, Kane 57, Raymond 76, and Alex 94. But you had four of your top 100 goal scorers in the league were on the Red Wings. And then your top assisters per game were Shane Gostisbehere. He actually averaged 0.9 assists per game. So from the defensive position, playing defense, he was really an offensive defenseman. He had 0.9 assists per game. That ranked 13th in the league. Kane was 71st, DeBrincat 90th, and four other guys just outside of the top 100. So you had a consistent group of guys who were getting assists per game, sharing the puck. So your struggles this year were not on the offensive side. You're going to probably have to replace Kane because I doubt that he's coming back given how well he played with the amount of money that he paid him. He is worth more than, I think it was $2.75 million. So my guess is Kane goes elsewhere and you look to get that kind of production somewhere else from your team. But the offense was not the issue this season, and we'll talk about that further. I would say that from an expectation standpoint, the offense was much better than anyone could have hoped for, and you just need to see improvements on the defensive side of the ball, or defensive side of the puck, I should say. What's your opinion, though, on the output of the Detroit Red Wings offense this past season? Let me know in the comments or over on Twitter. Now, where we need to see the most improvement moving forward for the Red Wings is going to be on the defensive side of the puck. So I think this is where they're going to need to improve the most if they want to be a playoff team. So again, they let up 20 more goals than the average team this year. That was 3.33 goals against per game. That would rank 24th in the league. So out of the 32 teams, they would rank 24th in goals against. So they were a below average defense. They also let up 32.4 shots against per game. The league average was at 30. So you were a below average team in terms of shots against. And actually, it's worse than the goals against. They ranked 26th in shots against per game. So teams were frequently getting shots on net against the Red Wings. The more shots on net, the more chances you have of the puck going into the net. So need to see improvement on goals against and shots against per game next year. Comparing that to the penalty kill, their percentage was at 79.6%. The average was at 79. So they were just above average. Penalty kill really wasn't your issue in terms of defense. Your save percentage for the goalies, we were playing all three, almost played 20 games each. We kind of had a rotating door at the goalie position, but your save percentage was at .897 and the average was .898. So you were just below average in terms of save percentage, but honestly, essentially right there, they ranked 19th out of 32 teams at save percentage. So compared to the other ones, your penalty kill, your save percentage, not as bad as your goals against or your shots against. Your face-off percentage, how did you do face-off wise? 15th out of 32 teams. So same thing. Those three all average. So nothing there that is really a worry, just like the goals against or shots against are. The interesting thing that I found on NHL Reference this morning was their 5-on-5 play. So their expected goals against in 5-on-5 play was 177. So throughout the whole season, it was going to be expected that their goals against was going to be 177. The league average, 168. So they are below average teams in that regard. And the actual goals against was 189. So the goals expected were lower than the actual number of goals against that you let up. So that's not great, but the actual goals against in 5-on-5 play specifically was 189. League average was 166. So in 5-on-5 play, you let up 23 more goals than the average NHL team. So this goes on to continue with our goals against ranking and how we said that was below average. Same thing with your 5-on-5 play. May even be worse there because we talked about how the penalty kill was average. It's really you're seeing more of those goals are scored in that 5-on-5 setting. Now, to talk about some specific players, your top 3 players by ice time was Mo Seider, Shane Costas-Bear, and then Ben Sherratt. So Mo played almost 300 more minutes than anybody else on this team. He was by far and away your best defender. So Mo led the team in blocks with 213, and that was second in the league. Mo also led the team in hits with 211, and that was top 25 in the league. So a very active player on the defensive side of the puck, basically leading the league or second in the league in blocks and leading it up with the top 25 in hits. Now, next to Mo, with Shane Gostisbehere, he was the only one to have more goals and assists than Mo. Shane had 10 goals and 46 assists. Mo had 9 goals and 33 assists. So Shane did a lot of his work on the power play as well. He was a great offensive defenseman with those 46 assists. The thing is, though, Shane's going to be a free agent. He's 30 years old. Mo is 22. So I wonder if you are bringing Shane back, especially if you're looking to get more defense. Maybe Shane is one of those guys who you let walk out the door just because you're looking for more defense, and Shane brought it on the offensive side. Now, Ben Sherratt, he's 32. He's probably going to be a top 4 guy on your team moving forward. I don't know if he's best suited next to Mo, and people like to talk about his contract as maybe being a little higher than it needs to be, but Ben had a career high in blocks. He is your most expensive defenseman right now, but I think he could be a second line guy, and I think you could be happy with his play there. But I think most of all, what this team is missing is a guy next to Mo, unless Simon Edvinsson can be your guy next to Mo. Now, he got called up late at the end of last year and played well. Maybe he should have been called up all year long, but maybe Simon is that guy next to Mo. You bring another free agent in to help out with the second or third line with Ben. But I think most of all, just the defense needs help. It's probably Simon Edvinsson time. Bring him up full time, let him play next to Mo. And, I mean, what a defensive pairing you could have for the next 10 to 15 years in Detroit with Mo and Simon. Lastly, your goalies is probably where you need some work. We just mentioned how there was a rotating door. Now, you went out and got Ville Husso a couple years ago. He played in 19 games this year. He was hurt basically all year. He has 1 year left on his deal, and you're paying him starter money. So I am assuming that Ville Husso is going to be your starter again next year. Alex Lyon, though, was essentially your starter this year in Detroit. He played in a majority of the games. He played in 44 games. He is 31 years old and has 1 year left on his deal. I think Alex Lyon is who you want as kind of your 1B guy or your number 2 guy. So if Lyon can play in 30 games and Husso plays in 50 games, that is a little bit better of a situation, I would say, than Alex playing in majority of your games. But again, your 2 goalies moving into next season have 1 year left on their deal each. So it'll be interesting to see if you bring anybody in for next year. James Reimer played in 25 games. He's 35 years old. he was either the best goalie you'd ever seen, or you questioned why he was even on the ice. So I think Reimer's gone. He does not have any more years left on his deal. The big thing here is, do we see Sebastian Casa moved up? Goalie waiting in the wings. Are you bringing another free agent? You need changes, but I wonder if you're bringing Cosa up to play behind Husso and Lyon, and then maybe step in at the end of next year or the beginning of next year. Sorry, to take over with those two guys only having 1 year left. So you need improvements at goalie. You've got a guy waiting in the wings. I would bring him up if you're running it back with Husso and Lyon. Let him sit under both of those two, get some PT where he can. Do you let him take over after next year? I don't know. That's a question for Stevie Y, but you certainly need improvements defensively. You need to bring in more talent for defensemen and for goalies. So we'll see what Stevie Y does this offseason and with the draft. But what is your opinion of the Red Wings defense this past season? Let me know in the comments below or over on Twitter. That is it for this episode of Detroit Sports Talk. Finally getting into the Detroit Red Wings, trying to review their season as a whole. I think what I'd like to do eventually is to get into some off-season plans, kind of get into Stevie Y's mind, figure out where their weaknesses are specifically, take a look at their cap space, who they're spending money on. I know defensively, I forget what his name is, but I know that they've got a defenseman in Hall, I want to say, that not a great contract. Somebody that maybe they could move on from and spend that money elsewhere. But I would like to look at kind of their cap sheet and kind of look at what kind of offseason additions that they could make. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch the show. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below, and make sure you follow me on Twitter at Bobby Bucket. Thanks again for taking the time to tune in, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.